Evaṃ me sutaṃ ekaṃ samayaṃ bhagavā Sāvantiyaṃ viharati jetavane anātapindikaṃ ārāme Atako aññatarā devatā abhiṅkantāya rantiyā abhiṅkantavannā Kevalakampaṃ jetavanaṃ obāsenvā yena bhagavate nupasaṅkamī Upasaṅkaminvā bhagavantaṃ abhivādenvā ekamantaṃ antāsī Ekamantaṃ titākosā devatā bhagavantaṃ gātāya anjabāsī Bahudevā manunsāca mangalāni acintayuṃ Akaṅkamānā sontānaṃ brohi mangalamuntamaṃ Asevanāca bālānaṃ panditānaṃ ca sevanā Pujāca pujanīyānaṃ etaṃ mangalamuntamaṃ Patirūpadesavāsoca pumbēca kata puññatā Anta sammā panidhica etaṃ mangalamuntamaṃ Bahu sancañca simpanca vinayoca susiṅkito Subhāsitāca yāvāca etaṃ mangalamuntamaṃ Mātā pitu upantānaṃ puntadāraṃsa saṅgaho Anakulāca kammantā etaṃ mangalamuntamaṃ Dānaṃca dhammacariyaca ñātakānaṃca saṅgaho Anavaññāni kammāni etaṃ mangalamuntamaṃ Ārati virati pāpā mañjapānāca saññamo Appamādoca dhammesu etaṃ mangalamuntamaṃ Gāravoca nivātoca santuntīca kataṃ yutā Hālena dhamma savanaṃ etaṃ mangalamuntamaṃ Khantīca sovacansatā samanānaṃ ca dansanaṃ Hālena dhamma sākañcā etaṃ mangalamuntamaṃ Tapoca brahmacariyañca ariya sañcāna dansanaṃ Nibbāna sañcikiriyāca etaṃ mangalamuntamaṃ Puntaṃ loka dhammi cintaṃ yansana kampati Asokaṃ virajaṃ kemaṃ etaṃ mangalamuntamaṃ ඒතාදිසානි කන්වාන සම්බන්තමපරාජිතා සම්බන්ත සොන්තිං ගච්ඡන්ති තං තේසං මංගල මුත්තමං ඒතේන සංච වංජේන හෝතු තේ ජය මංගලං ඒතේන සංච වංජේන හෝතු තේ ජය මංගලං ඒතේන සංච වංජේන හෝතු තේ ජය මංගලං. කරණීය මන්ත කුසලේන යන්තං සන්තං පදං අභිසමිච්ඡ සක්ඛෝජුච සුජුච සුවචෝචං සමුදෝ අනතිමානි සන්තුංසකෝච සුභරෝච අම්පකින්චෝච සල්ලහුකවුන්ති සන්තින්ද්‍රියෝච නිපකෝච අම්පගම්බෝ කුලේසු අනුනුගින්දෝ නච කුන්දං සමාචරේ කිංචි යේන විඤ්ඤූ පරේ උපවදෙය්‍යං සුඛිනෝ වාකේමිනෝ හන්තු සම්බේ සන්තා භවන්තු සුඛිතන්තා ඒකේචිපාන භූතන්ති තසවාතාවරාවා අනවසේසා දීඝාවායේ මහන්තාවා මංජිමාරංසකානුකතුලා දිත්ථාවායේව අන්දින්තා යේච දුරේ වසන්ති අවිදුරේ භූතාවා සම්භවේසීවා සම්බේ සන්තා භවන්තු සුඛිතන්තා නපරෝ පරං නිකුම්බේත ඥාති මඤ්ඤේත කන්තචිනං කංචි ව්‍යාරෝසනා පටික සංඥා ඥාඤ්ඤ මඤ්ඤංස දුක්ඛමිච්ඡේය මාතා යතානියං පුන්තං ආයුසා ඒක පුන්ත මනුරංකේ ඒවම්පි සම්බභූතේසු මාන සංභාවයේ අපරිමාණ මෙත්තංච සම්බලෝකස්මින් මන සංභාවයේ අපරිමාණ උන්දං අදෝච තිරියංච අසංභාදං අවේරං අසපත්තං තින්ඨං චරං නිසින්නෝවා සයානෝවායාවතන්ස විගතමින්දෝ ඊතං සතින් අදින්ඨේය බ්‍රහ්මමේතං විහාරං ඉදමාහෝ දින්ඨින්ච අනුපගම්ම සීලවා දන්සනේන සම්පන්නෝ කාමේසු විනය්‍යගේදං නහි ජාතු ගම්බසේයං පුනරේති.
Namo Buddhaya, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, a very good morning to all of you. Notice that many have rejoined us to this Sunday's Buddha Puja service. It is always good to check the Wi-Fi for clarity of audio and visual. It may be due to the poor Wi-Fi reception. During the Buddha Puja service, remember to have a calm mind. You may prepare a candle or oil lamp to offer at your altar. Wait for the announcement to light the candle together with Venerable Dr. Dhammapala. To those of you who have just joined us for the very first time, welcome to Sjba Buddhist Association 41st online Sunday Buddha service. We organize this weekly online Puja service in order to give opportunity to Buddhist devotees near and far to continue with our Buddhist faith and practices during this COVID-19 period. Let us prepare ourselves by sitting comfortably, relax our bodies and compose our mind. Let go of thinking about the past and future. Let all be in the present moment. We shall now hand over to our Puja leader, Sister Anne. Over to you, Sister Anne.
Thank you, Brother Chuan. Good morning, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. Namo Buddhaya. Let us begin with our Sunday Buddha Puja service. With respect, may we invite Venerable Dr. Dhammapala to make the offerings to the Buddha. Brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, you may also light the candles or oil lamps. For the other devotees, let us place our palms together in Anjali position and contemplate mindfully as Bhante make the offerings. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma Buddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Thank you, Bhante. Namo Buddhaya, Bhante. Brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, let us pay homage to the Triple Gem. Buddhang pujemi. Dhammang pujemi. Sanghang pujemi. Brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, together we shall invite Venerable Dr. Dhammapala to administer to us the 3 refuges and the 5 precepts. Ahang bante sangsara vattatu kattu mocchanatthaya tisaranina saha pancha silang dhammang yacchami anukkahang katwa silang deta me bante. Dutiyampi ahang bante sangsara vattatu kattu mocchanatthaya tisaranina saha pancha silang dhammang yacchami anukkahang katwa silang deta me bante. Tatiyampi ahang bante sangsara vattatu kattu mocchanatthaya tisaranina saha pancha silang dhammang yacchami anukkahang katwa silang deta me bante.
Namaskara. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Tisarana. Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Panchasila. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Kamesu miccacara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Kamesu miccacara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Surameraya majjapama dattana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Surameraya majjapama dattana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Imani panca sikkhapadani samadhiyami.
Imani panca sikkhapadani samadhiyami. Imani panca sikkhapadani samadhiyami. Imani panca sikkhapadani samadhiyami.
Appamadena sampadeta.
Amabante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Buddhanusati, recollection of the Buddha. Iti piso bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vijacharana Sampanno Sugato Lokavidu Anotaro Purisa Dhamma Sarati Sat Tadeva Manosana Buddha Bhagavati Dhammanusati, recollection of the Dhamma. Soakato Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditiko Akaliko Ehipasiko Opanayiko Pachatang Veditabo Vinyohiti Sanghanusati, recollection of the Sangha. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ujjapatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Nyayapatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Samicipatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Yadidang Chattari Purisa Yogani Atta Purisa Pogalam Esa Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ahuneyo Pahuneyo Dakineyo Anjali Karaniyo Anotara Punya Ketang Lokasati Chetya Vandana, salutation to the holy shrine. Vandami Chetyang Sabbang Sabbatane Supatititang Saririka Dhatu Mahabodhi Buddha Rupang Sakalang Sada Bodhi Vandana, salutation to the Bodhi tree. Yasamole Nisinno Va Sabari Vichayang Aka Pato Sabbanyotang Satang Vande Tang Bodhipadapang Ime ete mahabodhi lokanat tena pujita aham pite namasami bodhiraja namatute Padipa Puja, offering of like. Ganasara paditena dipena tamadansina tilokadi pang sambuddhang pujayami tamonudang Dhupa Puja, offering of incense. Gandhasam barayutena dupenahang sugandhina pujaye pujaneyandang puja Vajanamottamang Puja, offering of flowers. Vanaganda gunopetang etang kusuma santati Pujayami munindasa siripada sarorohe Pujemi buddhang kusumena nena Pengena metena cahotu mokang Opang milaya tiyata idang me Kayo tata yati vinasa bhavang Paniya Puja Adivase tu no bande paniyang parikapitang anukampang upadaya patiganha tumuttamang asking for forgiveness. Kayena vacha cittena pamadena maya gatang Acayang kamame bante boripanya tathagata Kayena vacha cittena pamadena maya gata Acayang kamame dhamma sanditika akalika Kayena vacha cittena pamadena maya gata Acayang kamame sangha supatipanna anuttara Sadhu Sadhu Sadhu
Namo Buddhaya. Good morning, Bante, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. This morning, we are very pleased to have Venerable Dr. Dhammapala to be with us once again in our Sunday Buddha Puja. Venerable Dr. Dhammapala will be giving a Dhamma talk in both English and Mandarin. And brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, if you have any questions related to the talk, please type your questions in the comment section. We shall then invite Venerable Dr. Dhammapala to answer your question after his Dhamma talk. I'm sure most of you, if not all, have got to know Venerable Dr. Dhammapala very well. But still, please allow me to introduce Venerable Dr. Dhammapala. He was born in Kuching in 1970 and ordained as Upasampada Bhikkhu in Wat Chong, Kedah in 1994 under the most respected Chao Kun, Praraj Dhammatara, who was a chief Siamese Sangha in Malaysia. Subsequently, he sought spiritual dependence under the guidance of Venerable Dhammasakaro Mahathero. He spent 15 years studying Buddhist philosophy, Pali, and Sanskrit literature in Sri Lanka and Hong Kong. In 2009, Venerable obtained his doctorate of philosophy in Buddhist studies under the supervision of Professor Venerable K.L. Dhamajoti in the University of Hong Kong. After his graduation, he was appointed as chief editor and spiritual director for the Buddhist Door website, one of the oldest and largest Buddhist websites in the world. In 2010 and 2013, he was a visiting assistant professor at the Center of Buddhist Studies, the University of Hong Kong. He traveled frequently, conducting meditation retreats, Dhamma talks, and teachings in Malaysia, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and China. Venerable Dr. Dhammapala is also one of the monastic advisors of the Theravada Buddhist Council of Malaysia. Brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, with deep respect, we now invite Venerable Dr. Dhammapala to begin the Dhamma talk on the graduated training to the path of liberation. Bande.
A very good morning, Namo Buddhaya. 大家早上吉祥。So my talk today is the graduate training, Anupubasika to the path of liberation. 今天早上呢谈的这个题目呢是有关于渐次升进的解脱之道。The Buddha, right, taught us to refrain from the evil deeds and to do wholesome deeds, and furthermore to purify one's own mind. Yeah? Therefore, on the path of cultivation of mind, the Buddha taught us to stay away from the foolish and to get close to the wise. And this is a very important start of our spiritual journey. And we encourage a good Dhamma friendship started with our spiritual path. So today, I would like to share with you the importance of good spiritual friendship, through which we follow the gradual stages of spiritual cultivation along the path to ultimate realization of Nibbana. So here I choose two early suttas. One is Upada Suttas from the Southern Nikaya, and the other is Chulahatipadopama Suttas from the Majjhima Nikaya. 佛陀呢教导众生要止恶要行善更要呢是净化起意，那就是说要净化我们的内心。所以呢，在学佛的道路上呢我们要远离愚痴者就是亲近远离愚痴者，亲近智慧者。那这是一个很重要的修行功课。那有了学佛大善知识的圈子呢，大家会互相的扶持，那也会在道业上呢会共同的努力。所以呢，今天跟大家开示呢善知识的重要性和修行解脱的次第。那这里呢，我将用两部经典来解释，一个是呢相应部的 Upada Sutta， 那另外一部呢是中部的相继喻小经So Mangala Suttas start with this stanza. Asevana cha balanang panditanang cha sevana puja cha puja neyanang etang buddhana sasanam. Not to associate with fools, but to associate with the wise, and to honor those worthy of honor. This is the greatest blessing. There are another suttas from Southern Nikaya emphasizes the importance of spiritual friendship in the cultivation. The Buddha says the spiritual friendship is not merely half the spiritual path, spiritual life, but the whole of it for the endeavor to attain the spiritual perfection. So once Venerable Ananda approached the Buddhas and said, Bhante, this is half of the spiritual life, that is good friendship, good companionship, good comradeship. The Buddha replied, not so Ananda, not so Ananda. This is the entire spiritual life, Ananda. That is good friendship, good companionship, and good comradeship. 那么在吉祥经里面呢，一开始就有这一段经文那么就是 Asevana， 就是远离愚痴人，亲近智慧者，供养于运供此为真吉祥。那在佛教的修行 道上呢，亲近智慧者呢是很重要的修行功课。那在另外一部经里面呢，在相应部里面也谈到呢亲近善知识的重要性。那佛陀本身呢，也是一位值得我们向他学习的善知识。佛陀也是我们的依归。那有一次呢，阿难尊者便前往世尊那里呢，便对世尊说：他善知识、善同伴呢、善密友呢，是成就梵行的另一半。那佛陀呢，即刻就回答说：阿难不要这么说，不要这么说，阿难。跟善知识、跟善同伴、善密友呢，是成就梵行的全部。Now, if you look at our society, there are many up and downs, in our life, and sometimes we are happy, and sometimes we got frustrated. And the key to a person's success or failure is often affected by the people around us. If our friends that we associate with are wise, they will definitely help us, support, and accompany us when we encounter problems in our life. So on the contrary, if we associate with the unwise people, our life will definitely be miserable. So we need a good friendship in our cultivation of spiritual path. And we need a Dhamma companion, a good Dhamma teachers to assist and to encourage us. So this sutta shows that good Dhamma spiritual friendship is very important to us, and a good Dhamma friendship is the whole of our spiritual life. 所以在现今的这个社会我们都遇到了很多生活上就是起伏不定的一些事情那有时我们会得意，那有时呢也会很失意。所以一个人的成败得失呢，关键呢往往就是受到了身旁的人所影响的。如果我们所结交的朋友呢是贤惠的，必定呢会在我们的生活中呢给我们扶持与资源。所以无论在我们得意或失意的时候呢，会给我们指示正路陪伴着我们，与我们共同度过这个人生。那相反若我们是遇到遇人不淑那结交的都是一些酒肉朋友那我们的下场呢肯定就不得善终。那人生的旅途呢，我们需要良友需要善知识同行。那学佛道路上呢，也是需要一个法律一个善知识、善同伴、善密友那么这段经文呢，说明了善知识对修行者是非常重要的。所以佛陀说善知识是修行清净梵行的全部。So during the times of the Buddhas, right, he often encouraged young novice monk to learn from the learned elders, such as Sariputtas, Moggallana, Mahakashyapas, and get close to them and learn from them, right? And the Buddha himself also said in his past life, without the assurance of his future attainment of Buddhahood by Dipankara Buddha, the Buddha would not have cultivated and perfected the 10 paramita perfection in his struggle during the Bodhisattva's hood, and ultimately he realized the Buddhahood. There is a saying, being a teacher for one day, a father for life. Those who study Buddhism should meet a good spiritual friend whom will support us and guide us to realize the path of enlightenment. So we must be grateful and remember the virtue of a teacher. So in Northern Buddhism, in one of the Northern source, our Tangsaka Suttas, there is a prominent Dhamma seeker called Sudana Kumara， 就是善财童子哈。His 53 visit of learning and seeking the wise teacher is one of the role figure for us to learn and follow。那佛陀在世的时候经常也勉励呢那些新学的这些比丘们呢，要向长老比丘学习，比如说舍利弗尊者大迦叶尊者目犍连尊者学习的，那也要亲近他们来学习佛法。所以佛陀本身呢也说过如果没有过去善知识的戒引呢，没有这个燃灯佛的受记呢，他就无法完成在他多世的这个菩萨道中修学的种种波罗蜜所以呢他也就无法呢成正这个道果。那在我们华人里面经常会讲说一日为师终身为父那学佛的人呢要遇到善知识那么才能够呢走向去向这个正道。那对于我们对这些善知识的这些恩德呢我们也要铭记在心，那当然也要心存感恩那在北传在这个华严经里面有一段经文讲到这个善财童子就是 Sadhana Kumara 善财童子呢，他是一位非常显赫的一个求法者，他的这个53参就是学到求法的精神呢，也是我们追随典范的人物之一。Then what is important to be associated with good friendship? Kalyana Mittas. The Buddha said, when a monk has a good friendship, right, good friend, good companion, that he will develop and cultivate the noble effort path, so which is a supermundane path and leading away from the samsara. So this noble effort path is also a middle path discovered by himself under the Bodhi tree at the time of his enlightenment. And this path is guided by Sila, Samadhi and Panya and leading all the way to Nibbana. That's why the good friendship is the entire spiritual life. 那跟一位善知识学习呢，为何是成就梵行的这个全部呢？佛陀也讲说，因为呢，善知识呢将带领学佛的人就是群修这个八正道处理这个世间去向这个解脱。所以这八正道呢，也是中道的修行，它部落这两边。那以戒定慧呢为这个引导并去向这个解脱，所以佛陀才会说以善知识为伴呢，是成就梵行的全部。There are two categories, right, of the path of cultivation. Two categories of the path, right? Two paths. One is a path for acquiring merit for reborn in the heavens, right? And another is a path of liberation, of Nibbana. Then, of course, for a lay people, right, they desire, to acquire merit, and probably it's their choice to be reborn in the heaven. But to a monk, they turn to practice the supermundane path, right, following the noble effort path to attain the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. So we can look at this chart, right? The faith or devotion, right, and morality, right, are the foundation of the spiritual path, and gradually moving towards to mind cultivation practices. And mind cultivation require aspect of calmness, right, and insight, samadhi and vipassana, for the attainment of realization of Four Noble Truth. So in the Chulahatipadopama Suttas, right, the Buddha expound the practice of the path as a gradual training, right? The Pali is Anupabasika, that unfolds in stages from the first step to the final goal. And if you look at this, gradual training, right? It started with the appearance of the Tathagata in the world and his exposition of the Dhamma. And having heard this, the disciple acquire first the faith and follow the Buddha's into homelessness. He then undertakes the rules of discipline that promote the purification of conduct and the right livelihood of an ascetic. Then the fourth to the 6 stages, right? 4 to the 6 stages are the process of internal purification and thereby bridge the transition from the moral discipline to concentration. So this internal process of transformation involves containment, restraint of the sense faculties, and be mindful and clear comprehension. And finally, his mind freed from all hindrances, he enters into the concentration. He then follows the footprint of the Buddha's experience and realization. 那世间上的我们说世间上的人啊，修行呢，大致可以分成这2类哈。一个呢，就是要求福德，就是要升天哈。那另外一种呢，就是求这是生死解脱。那对在家人来说呢，他们主要还是要求这个福报的啊。那升天是他们的这个选择。那对出家人而言呢，转向这个出世间这个解脱和究竟涅槃呢，是他们的终极目标。那修行的这个核心呢，是以这个信心跟这个持戒为基础的。那进而呢，修习这个止观而证悟这个是圣谛。那在这部经就是相继喻小经呢，那佛陀呢是既由这个相继，就是相的这个脚印作为这个比喻，那为这个婆罗门开示。他说，佛陀显现这个世间呢，开取了一条圆满清净的梵行之道。他说，我们首先呢要亲身的修学体证就是透过闻法升起这个信心。那么还有呢，就是要舍俗出家那么之后呢，受持这个圣戒来净化我们身口意3业。那然后呢，接下来呢，就是我们要过着一种少欲知足的生活，还有呢，我们也要守护我们的6根，还有我们要培养我们的正知正念。那么这样子呢，对我们内心的净化呢，才起着一定的作用那最后呢，我们来调伏五盖那以便我们的心呢达到平静。所以呢，佛陀以这7种清净的梵行之道呢，让我们也可以来成就佛陀他曾经所体验和觉悟的8个足迹。So these are 8 footprints of the Tathagata, right? There are 4 jhanas, 3 knowledges, and finally the realization of the bliss of Nibbana. So altogether 8. So 那么这里面呢，佛陀谈到呢，跟随他的足迹呢，就是这8个足迹前4个呢就是初禅、2禅、3禅、4禅。那么透过这个初禅、2禅、3禅、4禅得到定力呢，他证得了这个3明，对不对？然后达到了这个解脱。所以呢，这部经呢显示了一条次第很分明，那么见识的一种深进的解脱之道。那我们再来看了。So what is the main purpose of Buddha's appearance in the world? What is his main purpose? So he reveals a holy life that is perfectly complete and purified. So that is his mission. right? So we come to review a holy life. Then further he said, he teaches the Dhamma that is good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end. I think this one is very interesting because it teaches the Dhamma, three good in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end. So now we look at this. What is in the beginning? Right? When we talk about the beginning, good in the beginning, it includes the 7 types of purification. It means that one need to have a faith, right? And then he will renounce and become a monk or recluse. Then he will, go through the training of the monk's precept, right, and the way of life, and he will lead a life of contentment, right? He restrain, the 6 sense faculty, and he practice the right mindfulness and right comprehension, and then he was secluded, or retired in a quiet place, and free his mind from these 5 hindrances. So this is what we call good in the beginning. So he prepared himself. So that kind of preparation is very important in our practice. Then with this preparation, then he will enter into the second, that is good in the middle. So good in the middle, that includes the attainment of the 4 jhanas, right? And then subsequently he acquire 3 knowledges. And the good in the end, they include the realization of Nibbana. So he acquired the knowledge of liberation. 那佛陀呢显现在这个世间，他的目的是什么？佛陀呢，他说他的出现在世间呢，是指示出一条圆满清净的梵行之道。那么他也提说，就是他那条清净之道呢，初于欲善，中于欲善，后于欲善。那什么是中于欲善呢？就是刚才我们看到的7种的这个修学的方法，就是说在我们修学这个清净道呢，我们要自我准备一下。怎么来准备呢？首先就是要对这个佛法升起这个信心。那么还有就是里面提到的，我们要舍俗出家我们要修学这些戒律那接下来呢出了家之后呢我们也要过着这个少欲知足的生活，然后我们也要摄受防护我们的这个6根我们也要有正知正念然后我们自己也要静处禅师去一个很安静的地方禅修来调伏我们这个5盖。那这是出于欲善。那中于欲善呢，就是指我们得证了这个4禅还有包括我们得到了这3种名这3种名我们待会来看那最后呢，后于欲善呢就是解脱了所以好，我们再重新来看So now we look at this 7 part of purification. The first and the foremost of the part of purification begins with the faith in the Buddhas, right? Having a devotion, faith, right, in the Buddhas. So if there is no faith, there is no entry into the path of purification. So the faith in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha is very important. So during the times of the Buddhas, householders were inspired and rejoiced, right, and acquire faith, immediately after listening, to the Buddha's teaching. And immediately, of course, they were asked for going forth to renounce from home into the homelessness. Right? So this is a passage, from the Sutta. They said, householders hears the Dhamma. And hearing the Dhamma, he acquired faith in the Tathagata. And possessing that faith, he considered that household life is crowded and dusty. Life gone forth is wide open. It is not easy. While living in a home, to lead a spiritual life utterly perfect and pure as polishing shell. So, suppose I shave off my hair and beard, put on the saffron robes, and go forth from the whole household life into homelessness. Right? So the first. 那么接下来呢，我们来看，就是在这7种的这个修学道上 最重要的就是要升起这个信心这里我们也谈到，就是说有居士听闻了佛法那么这样升起了对如来的这个信心得到了这个信心之后他这样子审查，他说在家拥挤繁杂是成寇之道出家宽广海阔天空，居家不易世间完全的圆满，完全的清净。 OK， 所以我为何我何不剔除须发着袈裟衣就是着袈裟穿袈裟衣，离家出走这个离家出走就是离开这个家庭而出家那过这无家的这个修行生活。所以呢这个就是第一个首先非常重要的就是对这个三宝升起绝对的这个信心。Now after gaining faith in the Buddha, right, he will, because of gaining faith, right, so he will ask for going forth to lead a life of homelessness, to become a monk, right? So then on a later occasion, right, abandoning a small or a large fortune, abandoning a small or large circle of relative, he shaved his hair and beard, put on the 7 robes and go forth from household life into homelessness. OK 所以第二个呢就是舍俗出家了那么他后来那慢慢的舍掉这个财物那么舍了这些亲戚然后舍掉这个亲族，然后剃发剔除这个须发然后穿起这个袈裟离家出家过着无家的修行生活。Then the third, after gaining faith and becoming a monk, then he observed monk's training and the way of life. Right? So possessing the monk's training and way of life. So having thus gone forth and possessing the monk's training and way of life, he abandoned the destruction of life, right? Destruction of life, abandoning the taking of what is not given, abandoning sexual relation, abandoning false peace, etc., etc., etc. Right? 所以呢，他出家了之后呢，那么就便进入了比丘的学处和生活的规范了。所以这里面呢，就包括很多呢，他慢慢的就舍去了杀生，舍离这些杀生那么舍掉这个不宜取，离这个不宜取等等的所以呢开始要学这个圣贤的戒。Then after that, from this stage onward, right, he observed a life of contentment, right, which facilitate his practice, for his concentration. So he becomes contained with ropes to protect his body, and with alms food to maintain his stomach, and wherever he goes, he set up taking only this with him. And he used an example, just as a bird, wherever it goes, fly with its wing as its only burden. Right? Similarly, the Buddha also said, the household life is like a peacock, right? Full of feather, cannot fly. It's very beautiful, cannot fly, full of burden. Right? Whereas for the monk, it's like a bird. When he wants to go, wherever he wants to go, he just fly the wings. That's all. Okay? Then he experienced within himself the bliss of blamelessness. So this is the fourth one, lead a life of contentment. 那第四种呢，就是少欲知足了就是一种内心的一种净化有了这个信心然后还有持戒，对，出家，那开始呢，他过这一种少欲知足的生活 ，OK， 所以呢，佛陀讲，不管他去到哪里，出家的人就好像鸟的两翼、双翼所以呢，没有太多的这个负担，所以他只要带着他身上几件的这个衣跟帛而已所以呢，他的内心呢领受无罪之乐。Then the fifth one is the noble restraint of the sixth sense faculty. Right? So while leading the life of containment, he also possessed the noble restraint of the sense faculty. Right? So what are these sense faculty? These are six, right? I mean, eyes, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Right? So then he experienced within himself the happiness, the absolute bliss. 那第五呢，就是防护诸根哈。这里的根就是指眼、耳、鼻、舌、身、意，就是防护这个六根防护这个六根。那么不要让这个不善法来侵袭他的这个六根所以他守护着。所以这个就是第五种防护诸根。那第六呢 ，the sixth, noble mindfulness and clear comprehension. So after leading the life of containment, he restrained his sense faculty, right? Then he cultivated the right mindfulness and right comprehension. So that is a sati and sampajanya. For example, it says that he becomes one who acts with clear comprehension when going forward and return, right? When looking ahead and looking away, when flexing and extending his limb, when wearing his robes and carrying his outer robes and bowl, when eating, drinking, chewing, testing, right? When defecating and urinating, when walking, standing, sitting, falling asleep, waking up, talking, and keeping silent. So he maintained a clear comprehension in all his action, in all his bodily activities. 那第六呢，就是培养这个正念跟正知了正念正知。我记得在这个大般涅盘经里面Mahabharanipana Sutta 佛陀说，我讲了这么多法了我再总结一下就是我的教法可以总结，就这两个，就是比丘要保持这个正念跟这个觉知Okay, I want to add a little remark here. It is said in the Mahabharanipana, right? Buddha has spoken a lot of dhammas, in his entire life. He summarized. He said, my teaching can be summarized into these two. One is to dwell mindfully, and another one is to be fully aware. So this is my instruction to you. Right? So instruction to you. So because of this, the Buddha says, fourth foundation of mindfulness is you can abide in this fourth foundation of mindfulness. And in this fourth foundation of mindfulness, it includes right mindfulness and right comprehension. 所以呢，在这个大般涅盘经里面谈到的这个正知包括比如说在他的身体方面呢，他保持这个正知比如说全去返回保持这个正知前瞻旁顾保持这个正知还有这个去身肢体呢也保持正知，或者是持这个衣钵或者穿这个大衣保持正知，伺喝举常识保持正知，大小便也正知，行住坐卧名悟语默都保持正知这是第六个。Now we look at the seventh. After leading the life of containment, restraint the sense faculty, cultivation of the right mindfulness and clear comprehension, then finally, right, he retired in the forest or in a secluded place, right, and meditate. Then his mind is free from all the hindrances. Then he enters into the concentration. So with the power of concentration, he acquired certain extraordinary knowledges. OK 啊，这是第7种 OK 啊 ，Then we shall look at it the Chinese。那么这7种就是有了这个，我们说有了之前我们讲的这个6种的这个进化的方法呢，那最后呢它就破除了我们所讲的种种的这些障碍，就是破除了这个五盖那他进入了这个正定那他也获得了这个三明和解脱智。所以呢，接下来我们要看的就是这8种的注记这个是佛陀呢他曾经所经验到的、所体验到的。OK， now yeah, so this is a summary of this the path, right? So the Buddha's, we have seen that the Buddha's appearance in the world, right, is to reveal a holy life that is perfectly complete and purified. So there is this good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end. So this 7 constitutes the good in the beginning. So for example, like the faith, right, and the renounce, right, and then possessing the monk's training and the way of life, and lead a life of contentment, right, and then restrain the 6 sense faculties, right, and keep noble mindfulness and clear comprehension, and then he resort to a secluded place, cultivate meditation, free his mind from the 5 hindrances. 所以呢，我们再重复一下刚才讲到的这7种的这个进化方法那么里面佛陀也讲说这7种的进化方法就是出于欲善就是我们要准备所以这个准备也很重要的。什么最重要的？其实就是对这个三宝升起这个信心绝对的这个信心。那对这个三宝升起信心呢，你就会舍俗出家，让你会学戒律，对不对？然后你要过这一种少欲知足的生活。那么在这个生活上呢，你要守护你的6根培养这个正念正知，还有呢透过禅定然后你可以呢调伏这个修行上的这个障碍就是5盖了。So these are the 8 categories of the Tathagata. 8 categories. 8 footprint. 8 footprint of the Tathagata. So what are these 8 footprints? It says that 4 jhanas, 3 knowledges, and finally the Buddha shows that the attainment of the bliss of Nibbana. So the first 7, right, constitutes the good in the middle, and the last one, final liberation, right, or the realization of Nibbana, right, acquiring the knowledge of liberation. So this is the good in the end, right, the utter cessation of all the defilements and the attainment of Nibbana. 所以呢，我们来看这8种的注记就是那这8种的注记呢，就是佛陀他觉悟的这个亲身的一种体验他把他的这个亲身体验呢告诉给大家在他的这个亲身体验呢，他谈到的就是前4个注记呢，就是初禅、2禅、3禅、4禅。所以有了这个禅定有了这个定呢才得到了这个三明，最终达到这个解脱Now, we look at the 8 footprint, the first one. The first footprint is the first jhana. Right? The Buddha says, right, the right concentration in the Noble Eightfold Path refer to the 4 jhana. And what is right concentration? The Buddha says, monk, what is right concentration? Herein, secluded from sense pleasure, secluded from the unwholesome state, a monk enters and dwells in the first jhana, and which is accompanied by initial and sustained application of mind and filled with rapture and happiness born of seclusion. Right? So this is the definition. This is understanding of the first jhana. 所以呢，这里讲到的这个初禅是什么呢？经典上一般讲的这个正定，尤其是在这个八正道提到的这个正定呢，其实就是指这个四禅，就是初禅、二禅、三禅、四禅。那正定的这个定义是什么呢？在这个经典里面谈到说，比丘们什么是正定呢？他说，从感官娱乐中出离，从不善法中出离，那一个比丘呢，就会进入这个安住并安住于这个初禅。所以说，这个初禅是伴随着寻和持续心的这个投注就是施，同时内心充满由舍离而升起的这个喜跟乐所以呢，这个就是初禅了。Then what is the second jhana? Right? It further says, with the subsiding of initial and sustained right application of mind, and by gaining inner confidence, right, and mental unification, he enters and dwells in the second jhana, which is free from the initial and sustained application, but is filled with rapture and happiness born of concentration. 所以这是第二禅，所以呢，佛陀讲，他说，当这个初开始的那个寻跟思就是持续性的一种投注呢，慢慢的消退了也由于呢这个内心的这个信心跟统一心的这个获得呢他进入了并安住在这个第二禅了。所以呢，这个第二禅里面呢是没有寻跟思只有这个定而生的一种喜跟乐。Then the third jhana, it says, with the fading out of rapture, right? He dwells in equanimity, mindful, and clearly comprehending. And he experienced in his own, the bliss, which the Noble One said, happily lived he who is equanimous and mindful. He entered and dwelt in the third jhana. 所以什么是第三禅呢？他讲到随着喜的这个消逝他安住在这个舍、正念和清晰的觉知当中，然后呢，他自身体验到喜乐圣者说的，他住于舍、正念和乐当中，所以他进入了这个第三禅。Then we look at the fourth jhana. It further says, with the abandoning of pleasure and pain, and with the previous disappearance of joys and grief, he enters and dwells in the fourth jhana, which has neither pleasure nor pain, and purification of mindfulness due to equanimity. So the Buddha said, this is the right concentration. So the Buddha equated the right concentration, to the fourth jhana. And the process of the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana is a gradual, the attainment of the concentration. 那第四种呢，四禅是什么呢？就是随着乐和苦的死去，还有包括先前的这个喜这个和忧的这消失呢，它进入并安住在这个第四禅了。所以在这个第四禅呢，没有乐，没有苦而只有那个舍而升起的一种纯净的念。所以佛陀说，这个就是正定了。所以呢，在这个八正道里面谈到的这个正定呢，就是这个四禅一种的净化，达到第四禅呢，心达到了全然的这个静止了所以这个叫做正定。Now we look at this summary table, right? And these four jhanas, right, are distinguished by way of the 5 jhana factors, right? If you look at the first jhana, it's constituted by the 5 jhana factors, right? You have initial application vitaka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekagata. Now you look at the second jhana. It said the mind become more tranquil and more thoroughly unified. And the first and the second is dropped, right? And remain only the piti, sukha, and ekagata. Now the third right? And remain only the sukha and ekagata, right? So it means that in this third stage, there still include the happiness, the sukha is there, right? And so you have to put, in the second jhana, right? Yeah, you still have the piti, you still have the rapture, right? So this rapture is the, what we call, accelerating factors that induce the excitement, right? Excitation. So we have to put more effort on your training, right? So to overcome the rapture. So when this rapture, fades up, you enter into the third jhana. So remain only the sukha, right? So only remain two absorption factors, happiness and one, haughtiness, And the fourth jhana, right? As you strive, to get beyond, right? Practice more, right? So when you succeed, when this happiness, right, is overcome, right? You entered into the fourth jhana. That remain only the one-pointedness and the neutral feeling. So this is the purity of mindfulness due to the equanimity. So this is it. 那我们来看好这个禅那的区别，因为刚才讲的时候呢，我用一个图表给大家看得比较清楚一点。就是这个禅那初禅、二禅、三禅、四禅，它的区别呢是以这五禅支这个组成的。所以初禅呢，我们说这个初禅是什么呢？就是它具有了这五禅支，就寻思、喜乐、以净性。那么在二禅的时候呢，心呢就变得更加的清安那更加的这个专注了那么在这个第三禅的时候呢，我们的这个喜我们会看到喜就慢慢的这个消逝那么在这里呢，只有这个乐跟这个一净性这个就是定。那接下来呢，我们看到的就是在这个第四禅呢，只有这个定跟这个我们说这个舍受存在所以呢，这个第四禅呢，是我们可以简单来讲它是一种非常纯正的这个念具有非常高的这个平静的一种境界所以这也就是我们讲的这个正定是什么？其实就是这个四禅定Now we look at the fifth footprint, the fifth, 6, 7. These are three knowledges, right? You obtain three knowledges. So in another way, we talk about the knowledges. It means that through concentration you acquire, certain super normal power. So the first knowledge is the knowledge of the recollection of the past life, right? So it is very interesting. It says that when your mind is so concentrated, right, you direct it to the knowledge of the recollection of the past life. So he recollects his manifold past life: 1 birth, 2 birth, 3 birth, 4 birth, 5 birth, 10 birth, 20 birth, 30 birth, 40, 50, 100, 1,000, many eons of world contraction, many eons of world expansion, many eons of world contraction and expansion. Okay, there I was so named, of such a clan, with such an appearance, such was my nutriment, such my experience of pleasure and pain, such my life term, and passing away from there, I was reborn elsewhere, and there too, I was so named, of such a clan, with such an appearance, etc., etc. You see? So it means that you start recollecting, your past life. So this is the fifth. And 第五个呢，就是 有了这个镇定啊，有了这个定力很强了之后呢，你就获得了这个宿命制啊，这个宿命制。那这个宿命制呢是什么呢？就是说啊，你可以开始回忆啊，你过去世的这种生活的状态了，就是一生啊，过去的2生啊、3生、4生、5生、10生、20生、30生、50生、100生、1000生、百千生啊，哦，那么在那里啊，我有这样的名，有这样的心。这样的饮食，领受这样的苦乐，等等等等等等。那么从这里死了，又转生在哪里？在那里我有这样的名，这样的心，等等等等。在那里死了之后，又转生在这里。OK， 所以这个就是可以回顾呢过去多生多世的一种生活状态了。Then the 6th footprint when the mind, it says that when the mind is concentrated, right, he direct to the knowledge of the passing away and rebirth of beings. With the divine eyes, which is purified and surpassing the human, he see beings passing away and being reborn. Right? He can see others now, of other beings, right? Inferior or superior or fair and ugly and fortunate and unfortunate. So he has a divine eye. He can see. And he can see how beings pass on according to the action. Right? So for example, these beings who behave wrongly by body, speech and mind, right? The wrong view, right? So because of wrong view, you see, with the breaking out the body after death, he will reborn in the state of misery, in bad destination, etc., etc. Right? Or similarly, when someone is doing good, is he behave well, right? Having a right view, right? With the breaking out the body, right? He will reborn in a good destination or in the heavenly world. 那第6个足迹呢，就是有情生死志啊。所以同样的，就是以他的天眼啊，他看到了有情众生的这个死亡啊，他的这个转生，还有他的这个贫富啊、高贵啊、美丽丑恶等等的，他都可以看到了，透过他的这个天眼。还有第7。So the 7 is the knowledge of the destruction of the 10, asavanang kaya chingyana. It means that when his mind is concentrated, he directs it to the knowledge of the destructions of the defilements. He understands this is suffering, this is origin of suffering, this is cessation of suffering, this is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. Okay, so then 第7个呢，就是漏尽子。这个里的漏呢，就是指烦恼就是漏尽子，它如实的了知这是苦这是苦的寂，这是苦的灭，这是通往苦灭之道所以呢，他看到了是圣地So he see the Four Noble Truths. Then the last footprint, that is on the liberation and knowledge of liberation, right? So when he knows and sees this, right, his mind is liberated from the taint of the sensual desire, from the taint of existence, and from the taint of ignorance, right? It means that his mind is liberated from all the desire pertaining to 3 spheres of existences. Then they come the knowledge. It is liberated. You understand? My birth is destroyed. The spiritual life has been lived. That had to be done, has been done. There is no more coming back to any state of being. 那最后呢，这个第8个足迹就是解脱跟解脱智了。所以呢，当他这样的了知呢，这样的这个洞见时呢，心就从这个欲漏呢解脱，心从这个有漏解脱，心也从这个无明漏解脱。这里讲的这个解脱呢，就是从这个3界欲界、色界、无色界得到的解脱了。所以呢，对于解脱呢，他已了知，生死已尽，梵行已立，应作已作， 不会再受生于此种状态了。OK， 这一世呢是他最后的一世了。好，So this is the summary, right, of the Buddha's experience and enlightenment, right, and described, by these 8 elephants' footprint. It says first jhana, second, third, and fourth jhana, and 3 knowledges, and finally the utter cessation of all defilements. 所以呢，这就是佛陀呢他的修行的经验很详细的透过这8种的这个注记来讲给我们来告诉我们，我们也同样的跟着这个方法也可以得到这个解脱所以呢，它里面谈到的这个注记呢是什么呢？就是包括4个禅、3智跟1个就是解脱。OK， so thank you 所以谢谢我讲到这里，那可能大家还有一些问题的那也欢迎提问。Okay, Brother Chin. Okay. Yes, anybody? Your 问题 so you can ask any question. So
for the very deep, very profound and enlightening talk this morning. Now it's time for Q&A session, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. Do you have any questions for Venerable Dr. Dhammapala? You may type your questions in the comment box if you have any questions for Venerable Dr. Dhammapala. Bante, one question here. Many different teachers have different explanation on right concentration and especially on jhana. Some saying that the jhana is not necessary in our spiritual cultivation. There are even concerns that the meditators will get very attached to the pleasant meditative states and that this will increase craving rather than elevate it. What is Bante advice on this?
Yeah, indeed. We have heard many people have different saying. I think one reason for this kind of different opinion is that some teacher they talk from their experience, and some teacher they talk from their scholarly understanding. And when we talk about the scholarly understanding, mainly they depend on the commentaries such as Visuddhimagga, right? And some other explain from the Sutta's perspective. Like here, I'm talking from the Sutta perspective, right? So what the Sutta says, it's not the same as what the Visuddhimagga says, right? So therefore, those who have practiced and talk about the jhana and samadhi from their experience might teach differently from what the Visuddhimagga explained. So I think this is one reason why people have this sentiment, right? And the Buddha says in the suttas, like we have seen the Chulahatipadopama suttas, very clearly that the Buddha used the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, and fourth jhana, and we should not be afraid of the jhana. And instead, we should develop them, make much of them, and cultivate them. Yeah. So these Chulahatipadopama suttas talk about experience, the 4 jhanas that had trodden by the Buddha himself as the right concentration. So we can see the important concentration here. So to say that you should not do jhana because you will get attached to the jhana. Again, I have to say we should not be afraid of jhana. And because jhana can only be achieved by letting go of craving. So jhanas are called gradual stages of letting go, right? And jhana are not the stages of attachment. So there is no such thing that you attach to the pleasure. So, and of course, the Buddha says, there are two types of pleasure. One type of pleasure is depending on the world, right? For example, you attach to the five, the sensory, pleasure, like seeing, hearing, etc. Then another types of pleasure, that is a pleasure of the jhana. So the Buddha says the first attachment to this kind of five sensory pleasure, that should be restrained. And the second one, the pleasure of jhana, that should be followed. So, as to some disagreement among teachers, as to whether or not attainment of jhana is necessary, I think we have to make a distinction between early suttas and the commentarial explanation. So, in the early suttas, we find many suttas talk about jhanas, right? It's equal to right concentration. And the commentarial Buddhism of Theravada, in Sri Lanka, which arose a long time, after the Buddha's passing away, they will start interpret, additionally. So I think there is this confusion, right, these days, between what the Buddha actually thought and the commentarial, Buddhism, and of course they express a different position, in particular on the needs for the jhana. So this is one of the reasons why some people are not really quite sure about the necessities of jhana. So if we make that distinction between the early Buddhism, the early suttas, and the commentarial Buddhism, I think much of the confusion will be resolved. That's why in my explanation earlier, I used the early suttas to explain the jhana, not from the commentarial explanation.
Yeah, thank you, Bante, for a very good explanation. Any other questions? Brother Chuan, any other questions? Oh, this is a question from Hakuna Matata. Thank you, Bante. For laymen like me, what is the target I need to reach? First jhana or higher, which I think is a core order. Any tips for me?
Which I think is a tall order. What is a tall order?
Something very difficult to achieve, Bante.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and it is not easy. Yeah, of course, to attain to the jhana, but the Buddha says if you really put an effort to it, you can attain to the jhana. Okay, so work hard, try hard. You will sure attain. So this jhana, the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, and fourth jhana is a kind of purification of the mind. So as your mind, as your what do you call, the defilements, the hindrance is getting less and less and less, right? So you attain to the higher. So this one requires a lot of effort, to attain it. So work hard. So my tip is to work hard and to lead a simple life. So you can spend time, say like during this MCO periods, you see, if you have time, why not? Spend some time in the temple, meditate, right? So that will definitely help you.
Yeah. Thank you, Bante, for good advice. The next question, Bante. Is it necessary to practice both samatha and vipassana meditation together, or just vipassana meditation alone is sufficient, or to practice both samatha and vipassana one after another for us to cultivate right mindfulness and right concentration?
So you are talking about the practicing of vipassana without the samatha meditation, isn't it?
Yeah, is it can we do it that way, or we have to do it together, or we do it separately one after another?
Yeah, I need to further clarify this a bit because, particularly in our circle, people will ask you, Bante, are you teaching samatha meditation or are you teaching the vipassana meditation? Sometimes I find it very difficult to answer because I would say, first of all, the meditation has this aspect, right? One is a coming aspect, another one is an insight aspect. And of course, in the Visuddhimagga, like I have said in the commentary explanation, right, this samatha and vipassana aspect of meditations are clearly distinguished, right, are distinguishable. But however, I would say, or in the suttas, I would say them as one integrated part, as one part. And particularly in Ajahn Chah, right, Ajahn Chah has said, he showed the front of his hand and say, can you see the front of my hand? Then someone sitting in front of him would say, yeah, sure, Ajahn, I can see the front of your hand, but I can't see the back of your hand. So similarly, this is also like the samatha and vipassana. They are like the front and the back of the hand. So we cannot split them out, right? So sometimes you think that you are doing samatha meditation, but vipassana is right behind. They are inseparable. And at other time, you think that you are practicing only vipassana, but samatha is also behind, right? It's indivisible. So the samatha and vipassana are equally important in the Buddha's method of meditation. Okay, I hope this one help you.
Yeah, thank you, Bante. Can I say there's both a supplementary and a complementary?
Oh yeah, of course, like definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Bante. Any more questions, Brother Chuan? There's one from Brother Leong Yu Ming. Does one has to enter the jhanas to be liberated? Some just by deep listening to the Buddha Dhamma are spontaneously enlightened. Thank you, Bante.
Yeah, just like I have said, this samatha and vipassana, they are, supplementary each other. Like during the Buddha's time, many people, it's especially those the first time, the listener, yeah, when they listen to the Buddha's teaching, then the Buddha says, you have already enlightened and attained into the first sainthood, the second sainthood. Then someone would ask, does it mean that person has no concentration? Because we all know that to attain into the sainthood, you need the vipassana, you need the insight to enter into, you need to see the Four Noble Truths in order to enter the first sainthood. But in this case, yeah, just like I have said, right? Jhana, especially this samatha and vipassana, they are supplementary. One with insight, they also need the samatha. Right? So just now, like here, the question said, one has to enter the jhana to liberated. Of course, they are mutually supporting each other. We are talking about liberated. You need vipassana, right? So without vipassana, there is no way that you can enter into the first sainthood. So yeah, they are mutually complement each other. Yeah, I mean, okay. I hope that helps you.
Yeah, thank you, Bante. Any more question? I think we have a last question. Last question from Thai Chris Lupus. Bante, what the Buddha encouraged the cultivation of jhana? Did he mention vipassana in the sutta?
Yeah, that's why I think the sutta tell you quite clear, right? Of the 8 footprint, there's no mention of the vipassana. You see, so the Buddha says that when you cultivate, earnestly, right, you will get into the right concentration, which consists of the 4 jhana, and eventually you will obtain the 3 knowledges, right? So yeah, yeah. So they are supplement each other, right? When you talk about the samatha, they record the vipassana as well. They are like the front and the back of the hand.
Okay, thank you so much, Bante, for the very interesting and deep and profound talk this morning. Cảm ơn Pháp Phu Bị Chiu với món phó khóa khai sư. And thank you so much. And on behalf of all devotees, we convey our heartfelt thanks and gratitude to Bante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much, Venerable Dr. Dhammapala, for the very interesting talk on graduated training to the path of liberation in both English and Mandarin. A very good Dhamma guide to all of us. And a pickup is that not to be associated with the fools, but associate with the wise, and to honor those worthy of honor. This is the greatest blessing. And we must always have a good friendship. Kalyadamitas. Very good. For our practice and cultivation. Brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, this morning we have participated in the Sunday Buddha Puja service, listening to Venerable's Dhamma sharing and further understanding with all the questions and the good answers provided. With the merits accrued, let us invite Venerable Dr. Dr. Dhammapala, my pardon, to lead us in the dedication of merits to all sentient beings, families, relatives and friends, and to the departed ones. May they rejoice in these merits.
Patidana, transference of merit. Akasata Jabomata Devanaga Mahedika Punyantang Anumoditwa Chirang Rakantu Loka Sasanang Chirang Rakantu Desanang Chirang Rakantu Mamparang Etawata cha amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabe deva sabe sata sabe buddha anumodantum sabba sampati siddhiyam Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Imang no punya bhagang mata pitu nancha acharya nancha sapa sata nancha sapa mita nancha sapa nyati nancha sapa peta nancha sapa devata nancha bhajema Imang no punya bhagang sapa satana dema sabe sata sukita hontu Imina punya kamena mame bala samagamo Satang samagamo hotum yavani banapatiya Idang me punyang asavakaya wahang hotum Idang me punyang nibbanas pacayo hotum Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Venerable Dr. Dhammapala, thank you very much to be with us this morning's Sunday Buddha Puja service and the wonderful and enlightening Dhamma talk. Thank you to those of you who have sent us very good words, greetings to us, appreciation. Thank you very much. Brothers and sisters, also please help me to thank Venerable and also to the organizing team. Sadhu. Brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, we have come to the end, and before that, let us pay homage to the Triple Gem. Buddhang pujemi, Dhammang pujemi, Sanghang pujemi. To the devotees, thank you very much for participating. Those who came in very early, and especially to those who have stayed on until to the transference and sharing of merits. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu to you. We have come to the end of this 41st online Sundays Buddha Puja service. The next Buddha Puja service will be next week Sunday, 25th April. You may refer to your society's Facebook or the posters with the information. It may be a good idea to send the posters to your family members and your friends so that they are aware we have our Sunday Buddha Puja service. To all of you, remember to stay safe, stay home. May you and family be safe, well, happy, and peaceful always. Sukhi hontu, sabbe sata sukita hontu.
Bahong sahan semabhinim mita sayudantang ngirimi kelang udita Sasene marang Dana di Dhamma